Hi, welcome to the small shed. This Saturday we're off down another rabbit hole, I fear. See you in a minute. Now, to date I have studiously avoided 3D printing for a number of reasons. Firstly, it means you've got a fair amount of layout for equipment. I've got nowhere really to store and use it, and really my perceptions are that you've got to basically learn 3D CAD design work, which is something I'm sure I could do. I've used AutoCAD in the past. It's not something that you can't learn, but it's just time that is the problem on that. And then you need to get into slicer software to chop the things up once you've got the design done, and then convert them ready to print and so on. And it was just something that I just didn't really want to get involved with, because it was another diversion that would just take me away down all sorts of different avenues. Unfortunately, a series of events has occurred that have sort of coincided at once that have meant that that is all now sort of out of the window. We had a firm approach us a couple of months ago at Men in Sheds, who said, we would like to support you. We supply 3D printers to schools and educational authorities, things like that. Would you like one? And not being stupid, we said yes please. Now, there are probably only about 3 people in the shed that are likely to want to get too involved and deeply into it, but I'm one of them, although for the reasons mentioned earlier I thought I probably wasn't going to get too deeply involved. And one of the guys had it for a week or two and had a play and did a bit of work with it. I then picked it up because I'd got a project for the shed that I thought it would be useful for, doing some letters for a book returns box for a library. And I picked this thing up and found that because it's for an educational institution, effectively, it's very easy to use and set up and run with, apart from the fact that it kept jamming up on 2 or 3 occasions and I didn't want to touch anything. And in the end I got to a point where I couldn't get it to work at all. So I had a chat with the guy who'd had it the first time, and he says, I rang him up and we talked about it. He says, I ended up taking it apart. So on 2 or 3 occasions I've had cause to go into this thing and take it apart to levels that I really wasn't comfortable with, when you're stripping apart feed heads and pulling material out. But the problem has transpired to be the PLA they supplied with it, which I suspect is old stock, and it's very brittle and it was snapping and then it wouldn't eject properly. I've since bought some rolls of normal PLA online, which, although they won't fit into this machine at the moment, I'm jury rigging up, and I've got through a couple of kilograms of this stuff in the last few weeks, so it's working fine on that basis. So that little scare was over. But I thought I'd just quickly run through with it today how easy it is to use this thing, because it's not just like a normal 3D printer that I would go out and use. And also some of the things that I've found, in as much as I thought, well, I'd have to know what to be able to design and learn this CAD software and things like that. But then I found a site called Thingiverse on the web, which is essentially where people put all the projects that they've done and just upload them. And so the majority of things that I'm likely to use it for are probably already done by somebody else and freely available, which is wonderful. And I've just had an email back with somebody who's did the 3D work for my trams on the Stourbridge town layout, and he's just sent me the file for that. So there are good friends and sites out there that take a lot of that away from you. And as regard to the setting the thing up, this machine is so intuitive and clever that it does all the work for you. So I'm just going to run through. I'm just playing with the cycle cart at the moment in the garage, and I wanted some spark plugs just for the dummy engine. So they're nothing special, nothing fancy. Sure enough, go onto this Thingiverse site, I can pick up an STL file, which is the 3D CAD file for a spark plug. So let's just go in close and have a look, and I can show you how quick and easy it is to set all this up and get it running. So this is the machine we've got. It's by no means a cheap machine, and as I say, because it's set up for schools and that sort of thing, it's taken most of the work out of this. These reels, which I've got to get some more of now from them because they're smaller than the 1 kilogram ones of PLA, which is the stuff I'm using to print with, I've got a little chip in the back of them, and that will tell the machine what the material is, how much there is left on the reel, and it sets all the machine up to do that. So that in itself takes a lot of the work away from it. If, like me, you're then cowboy rigging up a spool of this stuff that I bought off the internet, it's got a thing there where I go into it, and instead of unknown, because normally it comes up with what the material is because it's on the spindle, I can actually then go through all this list of things and put in PLA, which is what this is, white, and click on it, and it will then know exactly what that is, and it's got it. The machine has now appeared with a reel on the side, which is non-standard, if you see what I mean. So that in itself takes all of the worry about feed rates and temperatures and all sorts of things like that. So I go on to the next one, which is to layout, and I have downloaded a file for a sparking plug, and that took, you know, a matter of seconds on this Thingiverse site. If I go there now, it says add model. I go to spark plug, open, and there it is. It lays down a picture of the spark plug. Now, because it's round, it'll need some sort of support underneath it, and again, I don't need to think about that. When I go to the settings, it gives me 3 options of speeds of printing this thing out, and that is the downside of this, the time taken to print. Some of these prints I've been doing have been 12 and 20 hours or whatever, but because I can just leave it running, and because if it runs out of anything it just stops, it doesn't do anything, or if it breaks down in any way, shape or form, which it hasn't, and starts spewing stuff out, it will automatically just shut itself off. But we've got the spark plug there. I've got it set to support, so that all of the support work underneath it, because you can't print in mid-air, is there. It would take 3 hours to do a high quality print, 38 minutes to do a pretty loosely crap one, and 1 hour and 21 to do what is, I think, probably an acceptable finish. Now, this has already done all of the work needed to slice it into layers and think about it. It's told me it's going to take 1 hour 21, as I say. It'll tell me it's using 9 grams of material. Now, all I've got to do now is shut the door on the machine, and it switches on and allows me to move on to make. Now, again, I don't have to worry about anything from there on. It's set all the bed heat temperatures that it needs because it knows from the materials. It's set all the head temperature that it needs to print at. It now goes through and levels the bed automatically. So again, I don't have to worry about that. So it's hugely, you know, plug and play really. I don't have to think anything about it. And it's taken out all of the work and the worry that I thought I would have in using this stuff. So we wait now for a while it heats the bed up, It's already transferred that file across, so it doesn't need, I don't need the computer anymore. I could unplug that and walk away now and just leave it to it. But at the moment the temperature's come up on the bed, and we're at 126 on the head, 41 on the bed, and this will just go up to its target temperature, 70 for the bed, and it's up at 46, 47. Head is 205, it's 159 at the moment. It's going to take 103 layers of print. You can go down to 0.2 of a millimetre, I think, with the head thicknesses of print, and that's how it does it quicker. It just puts the thicker splurge of material down. But that now is up to temperature. Now it's off to level the bed, and all it does, it's just touching the bed front, back, middle, just to sort of make sure it's in the right place. One thing I haven't done since I last used it is clean the bed, but it should be okay. But normally just a quick wipe with isopropyl alcohol will clean the bed. And it's weird because the stuff seems to stick on while it's printing, and then when it cools down it just lifts off without any problem. Squirging out now, it's toothpasting out some material from the head just to make sure it's clean and running okay. What I will do is cheat and open the door so you can see better, which is a bit of a hack, but we've already found out how to hack the machine a bit. But it is better to have the lid down because it keeps all the temperatures stable. But you can see from then on it's just like a normal sort of plotter on a computer drawing. It's just drawing layers all the while of the white material. The two nozzles in the head, one is a fat one and one is a thin one, so you can get very fine detail or quickly build up material depending on how it chooses to do it. And that's now going to run for, as I say, an hour and a half or an hour and 20 minutes, do its layers of material, and rather than sit here for an hour watching it, I'm going to go off and do some work on the cycle cart, and we'll come back and have a look when an hour and 20 minutes is gone. Right, so there we are, that's got the plug done. I've just got to break off all the support stuff that is there to make it print properly, because as I say, you can't just start printing in mid-air with some of these things. It might have been better and quicker if I'd have printed it on end, actually, thinking about it, but this stuff comes off reasonably easy in some cases. In this instance it's coming off well. I've had a bit of trouble with some of the things, but that's neither here nor there really. But that's got all that off. It's getting blood all over it from somewhere. I don't know what I've done, but oh, it's I cut my thumb the other day and it's opened up. But that's the plug done. We'll just get these bits off. So there we are, a bit of a file up that will give me exactly what I wanted. Bear in mind this was done on a reasonably poor resolution print. This is going under the bonnet of something which is a toy anyway, so it's not exactly high tech, but it's giving me what I want, a small sparking plug. I'll do the other 3 now. I'll just do all those at once in one hit, but it just shows how quick and easy this thing has been to get used to, and it's proving itself incredibly useful in lots of different areas as well. So the principal use, or the principal reason I've got this at home at the moment, is to do a book returns box, library returns box, which is down here, and I've been doing the letters for that. They've come out well, and took 2 or 3 goes, but you know, we're learning on this all the while. But in the meantime, I've also been filling in at night when it's been running. For years, I've been building a military train for O gauge for the railway, which is basically long flat vehicles with military stuff on it, and there's been a dearth of finding vehicles of the right period. There's a lot of World War II stuff, but there's very little for this sort of 1960s era that we've got on the layout. But again, I've found some things on this Thingiverse. I've got some little FV 432s, Saladin armoured car, been printing, Saracen, VV202, which is a little combined Volvo type unit that the British had in the 60s, articulated. So for the railway modelling, there's stuff I'm doing more of now, and there are kits and things that you can download, particularly the narrow gauge stuff that I'm starting to dabble in, so it's proving useful for that. Cycle cart, I've just done the sparking plug that you've seen, and I'll do some more. I've just done a dummy supercharger to go on the front of the engine. There's a dummy engine in it. This is actually half a radio microphone that I blew up size wise, which looked about the part, so that'll do. I found a carburetor model that I can do as well for it, so this is all dummy bits for the engine. One of the Cycle Kart Club members has done some spinners for the wheel, for the wheel hubs, and I can start and work on some of those, getting those done. I found an exhaust manifold to come out the side of the engine that's on Thingiverse for me. I've got some ducting, a brake duct I've found to feed the air into the carburetor on the dummy engine. So there's all sorts of things like that it's coming in for, and I think it's just one of those things that the more you look at, the more you'll find uses for it. I'm really fortunate in that, you know, this isn't, as I say, mine. It'll be going back in a week or 2 and somebody else can have a bit of joy with it, but it's there, and it's a useful resource that I don't have to keep. I only have to keep it in PLA, which at, you know, £12 a roll is not going to break me, I don't think. And I think I'll just find more and more things to do with it. I've just received the files for my Stourbridge Town tram cars, were originally printed with very high quality resin prints for me to take moulds off for my little low gauge layout, and I've done that, and that's fine. But we've also at the Railway Club just been building, or some of the guys, not me involved, have been building an outdoor gauge 1 and narrow gauge G-scale tracks. They've got a huge layout laid down now, all ready to go, and so I thought it would be useful to scale up the tram car and do a gauge 1 Parry People mover, if you like. So there's things going on time after time, every time I see something, as well as all the things that you find in the shed, adapters between different bits of kit and the vacuum. These things can now, once I've learnt the 3D modelling part of it, which is ongoing, we can actually print out. But again, I found the other day there is an adapter around for a mouse sander for the little Black & Decker sander I've got, that's up on Thingiverse that I can just go and print off and use. So I'm hoping it'll be a useful not addition to the shed because it's a borrow, but it'll be something, it's a resource I've got that we might see a bit more of in the future as I use it to build things. So I hope the video was of interest. Look forward to seeing you next time. We'll be doing something different. See you then. Bye.